If just for a minute I'd fall asleep and not dream about you. I hate to admit it, I'm out of ideas, I don't know what to do. Most of the times I think I'll make it through, but all that it takes is one image of you and it shivers. Nobody knows the way it shivers. Nobody knows. It hurts just a little when I'm with my friends and we drink till we're done. Yeah. So I can't remember how it would feel to wake up in that bed right beside you. All of the memories I try to erase just comes back when I'm sober and I see that face and it shivers. Nobody knows the way it shivers. Nobody knows because it shivers. It's cold and it's dark without you in my arms. Yeah, it shivers, it hurts. If just for a minute I'd fall asleep and not dream about you. And I hate to admit it, I'm out of ideas, I don't know if I'll cope without you. Yeah, it shivers. Nobody knows the way it shivers. Nobody knows 'cause it shivers. It's cold and it's dark without you in my arms. Yeah, it shivers, it hurts. It shivers, it hurts.
Every town that I go to, there isn't one town that I don't have some kind of a memory. The town of Valentine is one of the towns where it all started. Me working as a gunsmith. Her as a lawman. Me getting stuck in the bathhouse. And this hill right here. Where I told the woman that I love how much she meant to me. There's so many points in this county where there's so many memories. And I don't think that there's one place that doesn't mean something to me. I travel and I look everywhere around me. And I remember something from almost every spot. I've lived a very long life. Some people haven't done half the things that I have. But I've been wanting to reminisce and tell you where it all started. I lived in a very small town when I was growing up. Ma and Pa, well, everybody knew us in town. And we would go hunting during the days and make sure Ma had food for us for the winter to cook. It was one year where they got really sick with some kind of a flu. And unfortunately they passed away. I packed up whatever I could take and put it in a sack, and I set out for the state of California, where I began mining during the gold rush era. I worked there for years and years, trying to make something of myself. Eventually, when I kept coming outside of the doors and noticed the fast life that California held, there was always something going on, and it was never quiet. I was getting older, and I was looking to settle down and find a little bit of a quieter place to lay my head. I got on the train and went searching, and I ended up getting off the train here. When I first got off the train, I looked around, and I'd never seen a place quite like this. I was amazed by the animals, the beautifulness that surrounds us here. The fact that you can lay at night and count the stars. I was so excited but scared at the same time. I didn't know what kind of people I was going to meet. I didn't know what kind of interactions I was going to have or how I was going to live. I didn't know really how to build a house for myself. And right here is where it all started. I remember hiding for weeks and weeks. I was worried about talking to people. I didn't know what supplies I needed. I didn't know where to get the supplies. I met a gentleman named Manny. And oh, Manny, if you needed to know everything, that man was the guy to... He was the guy to that can get you anything and everything. He knew all the business in town. And well, he also could help you. And he was a good friend. I would meet him in town weekly, and he would give me some supplies that I was needing and that I would need. And well, there was one day, and I'll never forget that day. I was in town, and I was getting some supplies that I needed for the camp here. This is where I've picked my camp to be. I laid a tent down and a fire, and this was my first place that I ever laid down. And well, I had met Manny in town of Rhodes, and I had heard about a lady that was loud, very outspoken. And I was nervous. I definitely didn't want to meet her. Of course, I was very shy and quiet back then when I was young. I was maybe in my early 20s. And well, I was in town and getting some supplies, like I said, and well, I had heard a loud voice coming from the other side of town. And I told Manny, I said, come on, I said, hurry up, give me the stuff. He said, oh, hold on. Right when he said that, here she came riding up right next to me. She looked at me and sized me up and down and said, well, hello there, you new? You new to the area? I said, yes, ma'am. Started stuttering, and I was so nervous. You know, I really didn't have to. I didn't really ever, you know, not too knowledgeable about how to talk to a woman, other than be respectful. I was really nervous. She looked at me and she goes, oh, well, it's nice to meet you. I said, my name is Bear, and she said, well, my name is Sabina. I said, it's nice to meet you, and you know, I sat there and met her, and we sat there and chatted for a second. She goes, well, we're all going to the tavern. You should come with us. I said, oh, no, I have some things I need to do. Manny looked over at me and said, no, you should come with us and have a beer. Relax. Get to know some people. So, me being me, you know, I wanted to turn around and run, that's for sure. I said, all right. Got on my horse and followed him to the town of Saint Denis. And of course, there is where we went to the Tavern of Doyle's. I was quiet, like I said, shy. I was sitting in the corner, drinking a beer, minding my own business, just kind of listening to the conversation. Then all of a sudden, I hear her say, hey, new guy, why don't you come over here and sit down? She was right around that round table. Right when you come in the front door of Doyle's, you can see that round table from the door. She was sitting there. She's like, why don't you come here and have a seat? I was like, oh God. I was nervous. I was shaking. My knees were shaking. I was sweating. I said, started stuttering. Yes, ma'am. She goes, is the name Bear? I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, here, have a seat. I had a seat. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was going to happen. All of a sudden, I hear some music starting to play from the back. She starts giggling. And she's twirling around, and all of a sudden, I feel a handkerchief across my face. Her hand moved from one shoulder to the other. She's like, oh, you're in for a treat. She starts twirling around and dancing around, laughing. My face was so red, I was probably as red as a tomato. She knew that she was just making me all uncomfortable inside, but she was getting a kick out of every minute of it. I was laughing, just kind of looking up at her. As she sat there and twirled around and did her thing, I waited for her to finish, and, well, I probably scrambled so fast and I ran out of that tavern like you ain't never seen anybody run so fast. Everybody went along their own way, and I went back to my camp, and I just sat there and just thought about the crazy day that I had just had. Days and days had went by, and, of course I was probably avoiding every town, and I didn't want to run into her because I was, very nervous and embarrassed of the situation. And, well, we were in the town of Valentine, and I had another gentleman that I would meet up with, do some odd jobs with, and he'd help me, get situated. His name was Carson. And I was meeting up with Mr. Carson, and he is paying me for some jobs that I had been doing for him or something, and I said, "All right, I've been working all day. Let me go ahead and go to the bathhouse and let me take a bath." Well, nobody told me being new to the area, nobody told me that, well, the bathhouse door gets a little sticky. So I get in there and get all undressed, soaking in the tub, and, scrubbing all my pieces. And all of a sudden, I try to get out of the bath. I'm stuck. I was like, oh my goodness, me being new, not knowing anybody, not knowing what to do. I was freaking out, sweating. I started yelling, hey, is anybody around? Can somebody help me? I'm stuck. And all of a sudden, what do you know? Miss Sabina. She comes laughing, twirling in. Oh, what do we have here? Well, isn't this a wonderful surprise? I'm sitting there in my underwear dripping wet, and she's twirling around. What is she doing? Starts dancing around the bathtub thinking that she was so funny. She's like, oh, well, look what we have here. She got done, playing her little games, twirling around, and, well, she ended up letting me out. Well, it's good to see you, too. I said, well, hello there, Miss Sabina. Ended up getting dressed, went outside. Carson's just laughing, just sitting there laughing. He knew exactly what was happening when I went to that bathhouse. Well, he looked at me and he said, you need to go ask her out. I said, no, I'm not going to ask her out. He goes, go ask her out. I ran over there, nervous, stuttering. Sounded like a complete fool. Miss Sabina? She's like, yeah. I said, she's like, well, spit it out already. Would you like to go have a cup of coffee with me one day? She's like, yeah, well, it took you long enough to spit it out. I said, well, ma'am, would you like to go out with me? She's like, yeah, well, I would be delightful. So, I'd be delighted. So, I was so nervous. I said, well, thank you. I'll send you a telegram, and, well, we'll come up with a good time, and we'll meet up. It was after that day that pretty much we probably were inseparable. Every day that I'd wake up, I'd end up trying to find her and meet up with her. We were like two kids getting to know each other, running all over town. We were going on hunting trips. We'd meet up, roll in the grass, laughing. Go on little trips, try new foods. We were just kids falling in love. And, well, we were pretty much inseparable after then. We were dating for quite some time, and, well, Miss Sabina ended up buying this lake house right here for both of us. I love this house. This is one of my favorite houses. I used to come home from work every day and I would sit here and sit in front of this fire. There'd be a fuzzy carpet right here and I would sit in front of the fireplace. We had a fire out here, right out here in front with a couple of logs. It was one of my favorite places to this day. Anyways, there was a gang, really bad gang that was in Saint Denis. They were called the Lucianos. Well, Miss Elena, a Luciano. You didn't want to mess with them. They were known everywhere not to be messed with. Rumors were through the streets that people would come up missing and they would never show up again. We didn't know what happened to them. If they were alive, if they were gone, if they had skipped town. We didn't know. But we just knew that the Lucianos had something to do with it. They were a family to be feared. Well, Mr. Carson ended up getting in with Miss Elena. He had eyes for her, and well, she knew that she could twist him like no other. I could tell that as the more that he hung out with her, the more he changed. He ended up becoming one of my best friends. I eventually asked Miss Sabina to marry me. We had a beautiful wedding inside Saint Denis, right there at the church. I'll never forget that day. The guides had taken me out that day to, what would you call it, like a man's day, and they'd taken me out to a river and made me swim naked and freeze my ass off. I'll never forget that. And well, I soon called her my wife, and Mr. Carson was my best man. He was like my best friend. One day we were moving the rest of the stuff from my camp because I had forgotten about some of it and I left it at the camp, you know, at the river bottoms. We were trying to finish up moving everything over to the lake house, and well, Miss Sabina had been doing some side work for Miss Elena, and she said, well, you know, I don't really feel comfortable doing that work for you anymore, so I'm gonna have to stop doing that work for you. And she was so nervous to tell Miss Elena that because, you know, again, the Lucianos was to be feared. Well, Miss Luciano didn't like that too much. Miss Elena was pretty mad, but she never really said anything. One day we were picking up the stuff from my camp, and all of a sudden we saw her and Carson coming from a distance on horses. And well, I looked over at Sabina and I said, this doesn't look good. She's like, well, just hold on, don't do anything. You know, they might just be here to talk to us. Thought it would kind of be weird, them coming all the way over to this area, considering they usually didn't come this way. So, they come out, start talking to us all casually, and all of a sudden they draw their weapons and they said, hey, don't move. I said, Carson, come on, are you serious? Like, you were my best man, you were my best friend, what are you doing? He said, don't say anything, Bear, just be quiet. He stuck a sock in me, gagged me, tied me up, put me on the back of his horse. He said, I don't want to have to hurt you, but if you make me, I'm gonna. They ended up taking us to a cave all the way up in the mountains. And Miss Elena made it very, very clear that she was very unhappy with her saying that she didn't want to do work for her anymore. That day they beat us to a living pulp. I was screaming and yelling at him, and every time I opened my mouth, it was like Sabina got hit more. They took a knife and they sliced the side of her face. It was like they took all of her hope and all of her spark away. She would wake up every morning after that. She would just stare in the mirror, not recognize her own face. It took her weeks and weeks and weeks to recover. I would get up every morning and go to work at the gunsmith in Rhodes. I'm sorry, in Valentine. It was in Valentine. And she was a lawman in Valentine, and she was on light duty, but she'd still sit there on that porch. Remembering them riding into town laughing as they went into the bar, they went into the tavern, clinking their bottles. You could hear them laughing from the road. They knew what they were doing. They were taunting us. They knew we were scared of them. Eventually, one day, I was riding into work, and Carson caught me on the outside of town. And he looked at me and he said, "If you don't leave town, then she's gonna die." Which made no sense to me. Why do I have to leave? Well, them making us unhappy, separating us, made them happiness, I guess. He goes, "You leave town and we won't hurt her." Sabina was working a case one day and she was chasing a robber. And every night that we would come home, we would always try to go a different way so nobody would follow us and nobody knew where we would live. Because every time she put somebody away, they would always say, "I'm going to find you and I'm going to come hunt you down and hurt your family." So we would always try to go a different way home. Well, this one specific day, somebody that she had put away ended up finding us, ended up following us home. We were sitting outside by the fire. He come flying down that hill with his guns out, shooting. She took a couple in the leg. I took a couple in the chest, and well, we thought that it was over. We thought that it was over, and I thought that I wasn't gonna make it. Pretty sure there for a minute I stopped breathing. The doctor that was on call, we knew him very well, and he took me back to his doctor's office and he tried to work on me, and everybody thought that I had not made it. They thought I was gone. And well, I looked up at him. I said, "Don't tell him I made it." He looked at me in confusion. I said, if I disappear, I'll save her life." He packed me up a bag of clothes, gave me some medicine, patched me up as much as he could, some pain pills, gave me a horse in the back, and off I went out to the mountains. I sat there and I hid in the mountains. And he went and reported and told Sabina that I had died. I think her heart that day broke in 1,000 pieces. And along with her heart breaking in 1,000 pieces, I think mine did as well. A love that we had so strong. 2 kids, falling in love, getting married. Thought that they were going to be together forever. Nothing could stand in their way, we thought. He told her that I had died. She sat there and mourned for months. She packed up our things, sold the cabin, moved on from county to county to county, and I followed slowly behind. I wanted to make sure she was okay. Tried to keep her safe as much as I could. She didn't even know that I was in the shadows. Until one day, months had passed and she was drinking, and she had gone through the morning phases, crying, screaming, staying up late. She got to the drinking phase where she was drunk every single night. She just didn't want to feel anymore. I was running out of food and out of money, and she was right outside of Valentine riding in, and I said, I'm just gonna rob her, get some food, get some money, tell her to stop drinking. Tried to disguise my voice as much as I could, and I put a mask on. I said, hey, give me some of your food and give me some of your money, and don't ask any questions. She was all drunk. Well, what do you think? You think you're just gonna rob me? You ain't gonna rob me. I said, oh, calm down, lady. I just need some food. Tied her up, loosened the ropes, got some food and some money from her. And well, I looked at her, and I probably shouldn't have said this, and I said, Sabina, stop your damn drinking. Her eyes lit up so bright. She goes, you son of a bitch. I untied her, I got on my horse, and I ran, and she chased me for miles and miles, screaming at me, yelling at me, halfway sagging, halfway on her horse, falling over because she was drunk. I eventually lost her. And I knew then that I needed to let her know that I was alive. It was safe. I had been following slowly behind, making sure nobody had followed her, making sure our family was safe. I sent her a telegram and asked her to meet me, and asked her to keep her opinions open and her thoughts open, and not to be too mad at me. I kind of feel like after that moment, well, she didn't believe very many things that came out of my mouth, and it was hard for her to trust me. She thought that I had betrayed her for not telling her that I was alive. I tried to explain to her so many times that it was just for her own good. I was trying to keep her safe. But she didn't see it that way. Sometimes I wonder if the way I did things, if it separated us and made us more distant. Anyway, she met me that night, and I told her what had happened and why I had done what I did, and I had begged her to give me another chance to try to at least see if we could get back what we had. She was unsure about it. She knew that she had loved me. She did love me. She just didn't know if we could be together again. We started working on each other. It took time. Months had passed. And well, she wasn't feeling too good. And well, we took her to the doctor, and we thought she had some kind of flu, and the doctor comes out and says, well, congratulations. I said, congratulations? She said, you guys are pregnant. I said, oh my goodness. That was a curveball we were not expecting. I didn't know what to say. I looked at Sabina. She looked like she was so surprised. Her skin, her face was pale. It's like she was scared instantly. I said, well, we'll do whatever we need to do. We'll take care. We'll be great parents. We knew that we couldn't stay here in the area for very long because, well, it wasn't safe. People were robbing people and shooting people, and we didn't want anything to happen to the baby. So we waited until she was quite far along. And we said goodbye to all of our friends. We set off on a boat. We went to an island.
Yeah.
And, well, we finished off her pregnancy on the island, and I made sure that, you know, we were taken care of. I'd go off and get the food for us, and we made ourselves a nice little camp. We came back in town one day to get some supplies and to see the doctor, and she wasn't quite due yet, but she'd been having some small contractions. Well, I got a telegram just as I was getting off work saying that she was in labor, and I hopped on my horse so fast and I tried to run, gallop as fast as I could. She said, "I'm heading for the town of Annesburg. Try to get here as soon as possible." I'll never forget that. I ran my horse so fast, I don't think he's ever ran so fast in my life. I rounded that corner right before you get to Van Horn. And I rounded that corner, and there she was. I saw the wagon, almost ran straight into the wagon. She was on the ground there. I could hear her screaming. Luckily, the nurse lady that she had friends with was with her. She wasn't a doctor, but she was like a midwife kind of person. She helped people with pregnancies. She was on the ground telling her to push. I was trying to hold her hand. I was sweating. I was so nervous. The first baby came out. Well, the only baby that we thought we were having. It was Gypsy. She was a girl. The beautifulest girl I'd ever seen. We named her Gypsy Jackson. And well, just as I was holding my baby girl in my hand and sitting there and making sure Sabina was okay, the lady goes, hold on. I think we have another one." I said, "Excuse me?" I said, No doctor said that we were having two." She goes, "Well, it looks like you're having two." And even though he showed up late to the party, he came out and there was my son. We named him Jack Jackson. Yeah. I never thought that I'd have my own son. We knew that we were having a girl. We just didn't know. We didn't know that he was unexpected. Some people don't know this, but my real name is Jack. Named after my pa. That was Jack Sr. So we thought that it was only fitting to name him Jack. People call me Bear because one day on a hunting trip, we were out hunting and, well, my pa told me not to get too close to that cave, and you know, me being curious and all, I had climbed up and I was peeking over the ledge, and all of a sudden this paw just comes smashing on my face and flew me to the ground. I was lucky to be alive. My parents said gave me a scar for life right across my face, but they called me Bear because they said I had a heart of bear. A heart of a bear after a bear pretty much tried to take me out. So that's why they started calling me Bear. Anyways, there my kids were, or my children were. I had a son named Jack and a daughter named Gypsy. Sabina and I looked close at each other. We were definitely not expecting this, but I reassured her. I said, we're going to be okay. We're going to make sure that the kids get taken care of. The kids got older, and of course, you know, we had some trials and tribulations. We were parents, first-time parents. They don't come with instructions. We tried to do the best that we could do. I worked a lot, and I tried to come and help her as much as I could. Gypsy always liked to go hunting with me. I'd take her hunting. And Jack, you know, Jack was the quiet type. More reserved, kind of like me. Gypsy definitely was more like her mom. A little bit more outspoken. She always wanted to go do things by herself. She was a free-spirited. But the kids got older and Jack went off to boarding school and Gypsy, well, Gypsy wanted to go traveling with Kessie. Good old Kessie. Kessie was a Sabina's friend and family member that knew her mom. Long-term family. She was like a traveling gypsy. And let me tell you, one thing that she knew is she knew everything. But she never knew where her shoes were. That woman never knew where her pair of shoes were. She'd always show up in the craziest places with no shoes. Saying how she stayed the night in a bar the night before, reeking of alcohol. She was the funniest lady I think I've ever known. Anyways, Gypsy went off traveling with her. And Sabina's dream was to own this parlor house right here, Rhodes. She saved up her money and she bought this saloon, and her idea was to turn it into something that was big and to liven up this town. I tried to help her as much as I could when I got home from work and keep it stocked and just pretty much keep her company is what she wanted. But down there at the train station, when people would get off the train here, they always came straight to the saloon and thought that it was a shootout house. Always wanted to shoot the place up. Come in there, rob people in town. Ended up being not too safe of a place to be. Sabina was getting hurt right and left. I'd get off work and she'd have bandages wrapped around. She might have had a couple of altercations with some of the people that were getting off the train, and well, it ended up getting a little bit too rough. And she just couldn't take it anymore. She decided to sell the saloon. She had met some new people. She had met a new group of people called the Carnies. Miss Ruth and her crew, they lived out west. She worked at and owned a saloon in Tumbleweed. And she said, well, sell your saloon and come on out here and you can work at my saloon and you guys can live out west and you don't have to worry about getting hurt anymore. I was not too excited about that. I loved the greenery here. I loved being able to go down, go hunting whenever I wanted to. I loved the smell of the fresh air. Seeing the mountains around me. The towns that were close by. So Sabina and I, we argued a lot about moving out west. I tried to come up with 10 different situations of why don't we live outside of the west and then we'll just work in there. She didn't like that. She wanted to be close to, Miss Ruth, and she wanted to live out west. She ended up finding a place far outside of Tumbleweed to put our camp. And well, we had words about it often. One weekend I'll never forget. It's pretty much the weekend that changed my whole life. I went off to work one weekend and we had been arguing about something. She said, Bear, just go. I don't want to talk to you right now. Just go. And I'll never forget riding off that day. It was like as I looked back, I had a feeling that my life was going to change. after that moment. I went off to work that weekend and I was in the mining caves. And I don't know what spooked them or what shook them, but the cave had collapsed. Collapsed on my whole crew. Most of us didn't survive. They thought that I didn't survive. They sent Sabina a telegram and they said that I had passed away. And that they would make sure that they gave me a good memorial and they would bury me with all the other guys. I'm sure at that point in time, her heart broke all over again. Not only did she lose me once, but now she lost me again. I could completely understand where she would probably thinking, or how she was thinking, even though I wasn't in her position. It took days and days and days for them to finally dig me out. They were shoveling the dirt off of us. Pulling the boulders off of us. I mean, I wasn't even conscious when they pulled me out. Luckily, I was still breathing. I was in a coma for months. My brain has swelled, had a collapsed lungs. It wasn't looking very good. But fortunately, after months and months and months, I finally woke up and I was able to start recovering. They had gotten the brain swell to go down. I had woken up out of my coma. But everything was new to me. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to pretty much learn how to put myself back together. She, unfortunately, had thought that I passed away, so trying to reach her or where to even think about getting a hold of her was close to impossible. I had to focus on myself, focus on getting back to being able to properly live and move, bring my health back to normal. It took months and months and months for me to recover, probably even years. It's like it all went by so fast. When I finally recovered, I ended up getting myself off the train and came back here searching for something that looked familiar, that seemed familiar. Familiar faces that weren't here. People that I thought that would still be here had moved on. I had ran into a couple of people and they said that she had packed up everything. Her and the kids had left. And that they had heard that she had moved on, remarried, and was doing well. As much as that had hurt at that moment in time, I was happy that she had found happiness. But I was sad that the woman that I had loved that all my life was no longer going to be here. I had to start learning how to put my life together, put myself back together. And looking around and trying to find some kind of somebody that recognized me or somebody that I would recognize. I finally found, and I ran into the good old Swedes. Oh, Nellie and Lars. Friends that I had known for years and years and years. I hadn't seen in forever as well. They had not even known half of the things that had happened to me. We'd ran into each other and, oh, it was so great catching up. they would always be like family. They were always like family. They still are to this day family. I got some supplies and they helped me get set up and met some of the new folks that they had with them. Good old Mybrit and Brutus and Carl. Such good people. I was so thankful to be surrounded by people that I actually knew. I was very thankful. And well, shortly after that, I moved to the town of Strawberry. And I started to get to know people and new faces, new places. Never actually really was familiar with Strawberry, but it was growing on me. And there I met Miss Beth. She worked at the stables there, and well, let me tell you, for the first time in a long time ever in my life, I had my eyes on her, and I felt a certain way. Eventually, we found that we would just be better friends, but the fact that for that slight second that I could feel that I could fall in love with somebody again, I hadn't felt that in a long time. I didn't even think that I could ever feel like that. I didn't think that I could ever be happy again. And when I met Miss Beth, and the sparkles that I kind of felt and the flutters that I felt, I realized that there was some kind of happiness on the horizon for me one day. Maybe not necessarily with her, but there was some kind of happiness. She came up to me one day and she said, "Let me tell you, if you ever get the chance to hang out with Miss Lily, I don't care what you're doing, I don't care where you're at, you need to take the opportunity and don't ask questions." I said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, I saw that little lady. I think I'm a little worried or scared to go out with her. Not out, but just to go hang out with her." She was taken by Mr. Emrys. One day I ran into her in town. She said, "Is it Bear?" And I said, Yes, ma'am." She said, "What are you doing today?" And I said, "Well, I'm just getting ready to head off to bed." She's like, No, you're not heading off to bed. You're coming with us." I said, "I am?" She said, "You are." I said, "Okay." She introduced me to everybody around. It was Mr. Emrys, her, and then Miss Minx was with her. Miss Minx jumped on the back of my horse and introduced herself. And we head out of Strawberry, and well, we ended up heading towards Emerald, out to the swamps. She needed to pick those gooey things in the mud. I can't remember quite what they are, but she was picking those, and she had to go get some of those for her food. So we went out and did that, laughing and giggling, and it was a great time. And ever since that I met them, every day that I woke up, Miss Lily would always telegram me and find out what I was doing. And well, eventually they ended up kind of being good friends, kind of like family. Mr. Emrys and I, we kind of hit it off quite fast. Then there's Mr. Joe. He was quiet. Fletcher. Oh, you can never forget about Fletcher. Fletcher's like the older brother that you don't ever want to have, that you just gotta have. He'd always call me boy. "Boy, you get your weapon out while we're riding." That's what he would say to me. Even though I was older than him, he always loved calling me boy. Then there was Jonah. Jonah always liked to work. That boy will work until his fingers turn green. So there was Emrys, Lily, Minx, Jonah, Fletcher, Joe. They were good people that I had met, and they welcomed me into their family, and I was so happy. We ended up all getting a job here in the Van Horn stables, and we all ended up working there with Miss Natty. We've been there for quite some time, and well, traveling back to Strawberry from Van Horn was getting a little rough. So one day, I said, hey, let's buy a house. I'm going to wake up early in the morning. I'm going to see what they have available, and let's see if we have the money. Put our money together. I woke up really early in the morning that day, and I sought out, and I searched everywhere, and I found a couple of houses. Mr. Emerson woke up, and I said, hey, these are the options that we have. And he said, I want this one. And what do you know? We all put our money together, and it was a perfect purchase because one, there was a house for him and Miss Lily. And then there was a boathouse that had locks that was absolutely wonderful. I loved it. It was gorgeous. For me. I mean, I'm by myself now, so it's not like I need a big house. So we ended up buying it. First house I ever bought. I was so tickled pink. And well, that's kind of where we're at right now. We live at the house that's outside of Saint Denis here. We work at the Van Horn stables. Currently in the middle of trying to get a saloon in Van Horn, and hopefully we'll bring a little bit of life into Van Horn and bring people together. There isn't one thing that I could say about my life that I don't regret. I believe every experience that you have is an experience that you're supposed to have in life. Everything happens for a reason. I believe that. Even if it's not something that you truly wanted to happen, I believe that things are supposed to happen for a reason. It brings you closer to the people that you're supposed to be closer to. Takes you to parts of life that you didn't think that you would ever be in. I've lived a long, long life. My kids are in their 20s by now, and I'm in my 40s. But every day that I wake up, I put my boots on, and I put one foot in front of the other. And I truly believe that this beautiful place that we call life has so many opportunities. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy with the experiences that I have experienced. And I'm happy with the people that I've loved. That will I always love. But I do believe that I have love in my future. There will be a Mrs. Jackson one day, I think. I'll be happy and old, sitting on the porch in a rocking chair. There is happiness on the horizon for me. And I love every walk that I walk in this life. Because this world is something that is absolutely unforgettable.
I think that I'm going to hiding somewhere by a gated star. Baby, they ain't never gonna find me. I'm a renegade. I could be the one who saved you from this hard place. We could be as one and we'll escape. We could run away, we don't gotta stay. I can feel it, it burns inside me. Take away the pain, we can go insane. I can feel it, it burns inside me. We could run away, we don't gotta stay. I can feel it, it burns inside me. Take away the pain, we can go insane. Trust me, I won't let you down. I won't let you down. Yeah, I won't let you down. I won't let you down. Oh, I won't let you down. We could have the world to ourselves. Going to a place that's far. Staring at the stars for hours. 'Cause you're a renegade. I could be the one who saved you from this hard place. We could be as one and we'll escape. We could run away, we don't gotta stay. I can feel it, it burns inside me. Take away the pain, we can go insane. I can feel it, it burns inside me. We could run away, we don't gotta stay. I can feel it, it burns inside me. Take away the pain, we can go insane. Trust me, I won't let you down. I won't let you down. Yeah, I won't let you down. I won't let you down. Oh, I won't let you down. Some gates never get to open 'cause it's too late. I could be the one who saves you from this place. Baby, they ain't never gonna find me, find me, find me.